welcome to episode 28 of the Little Home podcast. My name's Bex, and this is a podcast all about my creative adventures. I share lots of knitting projects and sewing projects, as well as some little life updates and some information about our tiny house build as well on this channel. So you're very welcome to stick around and have a natter with me and get involved in the comments below. You can follow me on Instagram, and my creative projects are shared over on at @Bex_in_real_life, and my tiny house updates are shared on at thelittlehome.oz. Everything that I'm talking about I'll also write on the screen below here, so you're welcome to take any notes of projects that you like and get inspired by. I know that I do that with other podcasters, so thank you so much for returning viewers to come back again and see what I've been making and connect in. And thank you to all the new viewers as well. That's really lovely. I'm seeing some new folks subscribing and commenting, so that's really nice. The reason I do this is for community and inspiration, to be part of this awesome fibre community. So it's lovely to see you guys here and lovely to receive your messages as well. So yeah, do feel free to comment below. I love responding to you guys, and if you have any questions about any projects at all, you can either comment below and I'll be happy to let you know the information. You can also, I do detailed project pages on my Ravelry account for knitted pieces, so you can check out my Ravelry account is rebekahsjs, so it's REBEKAHSJS. And if you go to my projects page, you can see everything that I've been knitting for the last few years. So most of the yarn information and meterage and everything is there, and usually any adaptations I make as well. So feel free to check it out there, or also just leave a comment, that's fine. I have got a lot to share with you guys today. I've been doing lots of making. I've got some life updates, I've got a finished object, lots of works in progress. I'm going to share about a project that I ripped out, and also I've got a nice pile of knitted pieces here that are my kind of most worn pieces that I wanted to share with you guys as well. So let's get into the video. I'm just drinking some simple builder's tea. It's what we call kind of black tea with milk. I'm vegan, so I have plant milk, but it's in this beautiful mug that my partner Tom and I picked up for his dad in Barcelona. And as we're living at the family house at the moment, I get to enjoy this mug. We went to Barcelona, it was years ago now, years and years ago, just before I moved to Australia, so 7 years ago I think, and we went to I think it's called the Gothic Quarter, and there's an amazing potter who's in the walls of the old Gothic Quarter in this little dungeony pottery studio, and he makes the most beautiful things, really vibrant colours, and we fell in love with this one. So I'm enjoying drinking it. And what should I start with? Okay, I'll start with finished objects. So I've got one finished object to share with you guys today, and it's quite a big one. I'm pretty excited to show you. This has been on the needles since I think I cast it on my 30th birthday, so the 7th of January. And the reason I did that was because the wool was a 30th birthday present from my dad in the UK. My dad lives in Chester, and my mum lives on the moorlands in Staffordshire, so they're quite kind of in the country in the north, and it's lovely to go back and see them. There's some beautiful, beautiful wools that come from northern England and around there. This is the Humulus sweater. It's a pattern by Isabell Kraemer. It's a really lovely pattern. I started this year in January, so it's taken me a fair while to knit. And the reason is because I'm in Australia, it's only just going into autumn now. I look quite woolly here, but I've actually got shorts on underneath. And it's in that funny time at the moment where we're between seasons. It can be down to 6 degrees in the evening time and up to the mid-20s. It's just it's all about the layers. So yeah, so it was kind of, I was knitting on it bits and pieces here and there throughout the last few months. It's an 8-ply project. So I used this beautiful kind of aubergine purple, is Bahramu Dovestone DK, and it's their Gothland colourway. It's really, really beautiful. Quite a tonal purple colour. And then the colour work here was used using just some light grey Cascade 220 that I had in my stash. I've just, if you can see that grey here, I've just marked that as the back. Just, there is short row shaping, but it's quite difficult to find the front and the back when you're just picking it up and putting it on, so I've just marked the back there. I had enough wool that I've made a jumper dress, which I'm so happy about. So I've actually had a few days where it's been cool enough to wear this, and I just was wearing it with tights or leggings, and I know it's just going to be such a perfect wardrobe staple. I love dresses for that, where you don't have to think about anything else. You just have tights and leggings and a dress, and it has the same ease of wearing this garment. So I'm very happy with it. It fits perfectly. I couldn't be happier with the fit. I did there's quite a few sizes on the pattern, and I did the M1, so the medium one, which gave quite a lot of positive ease. I think maybe it was 2 or 3, I can't remember exactly, but I'm a 36 bust. So my bra size is like a 36B, and I think maybe this was a 38, so there was about 2 inches of positive ease, which worked out really well. I blocked it, which is why it's laying so nicely. If you don't block your projects, because it makes such a difference, especially with colour work. It's only something that I learnt about when I was working in the wool shop in Melbourne. I worked at Morris & Sons for quite a few years, and it makes such a difference, you wouldn't believe. So what was I saying? The fit's wonderful. Just to make it into a jumper dress, because there was quite a lot of positive ease, I think maybe you can see there where I've started increasing for the hips. So I just increased I think 10 stitches. So I think I did 2 stitches, one on either side, with a space of maybe 10 rows between them. It will say in my project notes, I can't remember exactly, but it was a very simple design just to make into a dress. Just because of the positive ease, I really didn't need to increase very much. And I've got a nice big chunk of rib at the bottom there. I think I did I do a twisted rib? No, I didn't. I just did a normal 1x1 rib. And then I cast off. I usually use Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off, but I don't like how it sits so well. So recently what I've been doing is just going up a couple of needle sizes and casting off in a traditional way, just really loosely, and that seems to work really well. I think maybe, yeah, that's what I did for this one, so I would have gone up a couple of needle sizes. I used I think a 4mm needle for the main body and maybe a 3.5 for the ribbing. It'll say in my project notes, but it's really beautiful. There's some there's increases throughout this pattern here, so it actually fits really well around the shoulders, and that's something I'd really recommend looking for in colour work projects if you can. It's more tricky for designers to include increases within the colour work designs for obvious reasons, changes of row numbers and things like that, but it makes them sit so much better. I've seen quite a few, because there's so much colour work designs going around at the moment, I've seen quite a few podcasts that have shared that they're having trouble with colour work pieces that don't have any increases within the designs, especially if the colour work is on the yoke, because we're a 3D we're a 3D shape, we're not just like a tube. We increase a fair amount, that's what I'm trying to say, from here to here, so to wear a tube at that point it would be quite uncomfortable and would kind of stop the movement of your arms. So That's not something that I've had an issue with for this garment, so if that's something that you are nervous about, and I'd totally recommend this project as a very comfortable, even a beginner colour work project, just because there's a relatively small area of colour work that you're working on. Is there anything to say about this? So this includes short row shaping as well at the back, so it sits really nicely. It's higher at the neckline than at the front neckline here, so it fits really well. I'm very, very happy with it. I ended up doing 3/4 length sleeves, and I also just included a little bit of colour work that I made just to kind of mirror this section here on the sleeves. And I think that's all I've got to say about this. It blocked out beautifully. It's rustic yet very soft. I can wear this just with a tank top underneath and no sleeves, and it's not prickly at all. It feels woolly, and it's definitely not merino soft, but for me this is so comfortable to wear, and I totally want more of this wool. Bahram, you also have a full ply version, like a colourwork yarn, which I think is the same base as the Dovestone DK, so I really want to try that out. But yeah, this wool was a gift from my dad for my 30th birthday, so this is a really precious piece, and I think he did a marvellous job. It's a very Beck's colour, so I'm very happy with it, and I love how the neutral has a real contrast to it, and yeah, it's beautiful. So this is my finished object for this podcast, and I couldn't be happier with it. It's a very beautiful piece, and I know it's going to get a lot of wear. Okay, so I'll show you guys some works in progress. I've got some really beautiful projects on the needles at the moment. I'm really happy with all of them, so I can't wait to share them with you. I've got one which you haven't seen already, and then I've got some progress on a couple that I've been working on since before last podcast. So I'll start with the ones that you've seen already, and we'll go from there. Okay. So the first one is living in this little handmade linen project bag I made out of my scraps. And this is the Silver Forest sweater. And it's a pattern by Jennifer Steingass. It's so beautiful. I love this one so much. The colours are amazing. So it's got a really interesting construction, this one. You actually start off with a provisional cast on, work the yoke, and then work the neckline, and then work down from the bottom of the yoke. And the idea is so that it's really adjustable. So you can adjust the neckline at the end, you can also adjust all the sleeves and the hem at the end as well, which I really like the idea of. The cast on, the provisional cast on that she uses is very, very simple. It takes some time. It's a large cast on, and also you have to kind of pick that up afterwards. So it's more time consuming than if you just started at the neckline and worked down. But I do really like the idea behind it. I like that all of the extremities, like the neckline and the sleeves and the hem of this garment, are all adjustable at the end. I think that's a really, really good idea. So I'm using just my interchangeable higher. The main body is knit on a 3.25. So I've just got these guys here, and I'm really enjoying this project so far. I'll share this with you now actually. I am facilitating the soulcraftalong, which is it's running from 2 weeks ago until the weekend of the Soulcraft Festival, which is an amazing craft festival that's happening in Melbourne, run by the Craft Sessions, who's Felicia, and I'm so happy to be involved. I met her at Maker Store, my friend Emily's yarn shop, and we hit it off straight away, so I'm so happy to be supporting her with the soulcraftalong. And so this is my, throughout the soulcraftalong, which runs for about 2 months or maybe slightly longer, I'm sharing my progress as well as highlighting other amazing projects that are being shared. So this is one of my projects that I'm kind of working alongside the soulcraftalong. I've got another one as well. So yeah, this project is just amazing. I love it. The main colour here is this yarn, which is this beautiful, it's called Hazelnut Gelato. It's by Knitcraft and Knittery, which is it's a Tasmanian sustainable merino, like sustainable ethical merino. And she's a indie hand dyer. It's amazing. It's her beautiful little logo. And this is Hazelnut Gelato. It says 100 grams fingering weight, 400 meters. It's non-superwash and it's 100% sustainable Australian merino wool. So this is her Hazelnut Gelato colour, which it's so Hazelnut Gelato. It's a very kind of stony colour with a very much pink undertone, and it's quite variegated. Like there's sections of it which are more pinky than others. It's the softest thing in the universe. I'm hoping it's not going to pill too much. It looks like it's got a little bit of a halo at the moment, but it doesn't look like it's going to be too pilly. Beautiful. And then this kind of grey variegated tone, which is the main kind of contrast for the design, is a homespun house in the yak base, and I think it's the ash colourway. Molly from the Homespun House sent this skein to me as a love gift, and it's just beautiful. So I've used it in a few projects now. I've still got a fair bit left. Really gorgeous. And then this kind of I guess it's like almost like a terracotta-y pink colour. I just love this kind of shade of pinky beige. Is West Yorkshire Spinners 4-ply signature in the cinnamon stick colourway. So it's just a sock yarn. It's a superwash sock, 4-ply sock yarn. I think it'll have nylon in it as well. But it has quite a rustic feel to it. I actually really like this wool. So yeah, that's how it's looking. I finished all of the beautiful colour work. It's just very sad. It's got these really gorgeous kind of flower and leaf designs and trees in between. And I'm now just on Stockinett Island working. I've kind of separated for the sleeves and I'm working the body. This is going to be a cropped jumper, kind of cropped 3/4 length jumper that I'm going to wear over linen dresses and under dungarees and things. So it's only going to go to my natural waist. So it'll be a relatively small garment. I've got, I think, 3 skeins total of this main colour, so I think I'll probably have some left over. I'd be surprised if I use much of the 3rd skein, just because it's cropped. I think so far I'm on my first, skein. I think I've got another one somewhere, yeah, so I haven't used that much at all, which is great because I'd love to have a bit more of this in my stash. She's got some beautiful colourways. She's actually, Knitcraft and Knittery's got a colour which is quite similar to this one here, which I would love to own at some point. I'd actually love to do some designing with her wool. It's very beautiful, and kind of ethically I really appreciate what she's doing. So that's living safely in there. If you ever wonder why podcasters always drink tea and coffee and things like that, it's because throats get so sore talking all the time. So the next project I'm going to share with you, I haven't done a ton of work on recently, but I'm very excited about it. It's living in this cute little hedgehog bag that my friend Emily gave me. The bag is by Tiny Lovely. I'm not sure where she picked it up from, but it's beautiful. It's a little love gift for me. So in here is my Betula shawl, which is a pattern by Melody Hoffmann. Now she's having some trouble with the pattern at the moment. It's a very, very simple pattern, and because of that I can kind of work around the issues that are happening with the pattern, but she had a bit of an issue with her tech designer tech editor. So I think she's recalled the pattern just until everything gets fixed, because there were a few issues that I found while I was working on this, which is fine if you've done triangular shawls before. It's very simple to work out what's gone wrong, but yeah, if you're wanting to purchase the pattern, which I totally recommend you do, just wait a little while just so the pattern's fully ready to go. But so this is the Betula shawl. I'm using Baroa, which is an amazing rustic Portuguese wool. It's actually the wool that Melody designed the pattern for. I picked this up from Retrosaria, and the wool is by Rosa Pomar, and it's their Baroa. The colour is 536, which I think is something like iced tea or pink tea, something like that. It's my favourite pinky beige colour, with these really beautiful natural, almost stripes of brown wool that have been included in the yarn as well. There's a lot of veg matter in here. It's very rustic. It's quite like it's almost spiky because of the vegetation in there. But as I was balling it up, I was just picking out any veg matter that I could find. It's not something that bothers me at all. I also know that it will soften up so much once it's been blocked. It just has that feeling from Melody's recommendations as well. It really softens up. So it's got these beautiful brown kind of self-striping sections, which you can start to see in the pattern here. So beautiful. And then it's just basically just a really simple triangular shawl with sections of garter stitch. So it's very simple. It's one that you can look at the pattern. Well, I can. It depends where you're at with your knitting, but for me, I can look at the pattern and only need to look at the pattern a couple of times for the whole thing. It's very simple and quite repetitive, so it's a very enjoyable knit. I'm including this as also as part of the soulcraftalong for the Soulcraft festivals that I'm supporting, helping facilitate. I never know what my role is, but I get to chat to a lot of people on there, and it's beautiful. So I'm working on that, and I totally recommend that beautiful design. So if you're willing to wait a little while until Melody republishes it, I really would recommend that. And if you have purchased it already and you're having trouble with the original version, I know that Melody's put a coupon code out there. I'm sure you probably would have received an email anyway, but just as a sorry and a thank you for your patience, she's done a coupon code for anyone who's already purchased it, for any of her patterns, just as a sorry and a thank you. Right, I'll have a sip, and then I've got one more work in progress to share with you guys. The next work in progress is a new cast on, which is hilarious because it's looking very close to being done. It's not actually close to being done, but I've done a lot of work on it. I haven't been able to put it down. It's living in my cactusy project bag. And this is the No Frills sweater, which is a pattern by Petite Knit. It's I think she's a Danish knitwear designer. That's how far I've got to so far. I am knitting this, sorry about the clicking needles, I'm just using my higher interchangeables. I'm knitting this out of Rowan Felted Tweed, and it's the mineral colourway, which is colour number 181, I believe. Yeah, colour number 181, which is really beautiful, kind of buttery mustard colour with flecks of blue and white and black. It's very beautiful. It's a 50% wool, 25% alpaca and 25% viscose. And it's got a real halo to it. I don't know if you can see how much fluff there is. Now, this yarn has been probably about knitted into partial projects about 3 times for me now. It started off as, I think, a Isabell pullover, which I ripped back, and then it got started into, you would have seen it a couple of podcasts ago. I'm blanking on the name. It's, I'll write it down below here. So it was going to become this sweater, and I just wasn't feeling a whole lacy pattern to knit. As beautiful as it would be, I think it would make an amazing one of those pullovers. But I was looking at some beautiful no frills sweaters. Sorry, if I look down here, it's because I've got my notes down here. On Instagram, in particular, I think it's Woolly Mammoth Fibres, or Woolly Mammoth Fibre Co. The dyer behind that, I'm sorry, I'm completely blanking on her name, made the most beautiful version of the no frills out of her own hand-dyed yarn, and I was so close to buying a sweater kit from her and making one myself. And then I realised that I had enough of this wool, and it would have a similar effect to what was suggested in the pattern. The pattern calls for, I guess it's a 2-ply mohair mixed with a 4-ply merino, I think. And so some of the indie dyers have been doing kits for it. And I realised that the felted tweed, which calls itself a DK, it's I don't know how it could be considered a DK. For me, it's very much a sport weight or a 6-ply. Would actually hit gauge perfectly for me. So if you're looking for a more, I don't know, sometimes it's not so enjoyable to knit 2 strands together of wool. I've found that to be the case in some projects. This has a similar halo in a way to the mohair strand. So I think it could be a really nice alternative if you're looking for just a 1-stranded 6-ply with a bit of fluff to it for the no frills. And I'm really happy with how it's coming along. I'm knitting I think it's just the medium. It'll say on my project notes. And I haven't made any changes other than when I cast on, I actually decided to do a double. I'm just using this as a marker to show the back. I did a double thickness neckband. If you can see there, it's like a tube. And I did that, you can't tell on the inside at all, but I just did that by knitting double the length of ribbed cast on, folding it over, and when I start this first row here, I just pick up a stitch of the cast on and knit it with the live stitch, just so it kind of binds together on that first row. It's very stretchy. I was quite careful to do it quite loosely, but it creates a really nice rolled neckline. If that didn't make any sense to you, if you look up tutorials on YouTube for how to do a rolled hem or a rolled neckline, there's quite a lot of tutorials, but you're basically just knitting together one of the live stitches with one of the cast on stitches, and it creates just this tube, basically, enclosed tube, which I think is a really nice feature. Because this neckline is quite high, it creates a really nice stretch to it, like that can stretch almost to my shoulders. Yeah, I love how it's fitting so far. I have the hem on just waist yarn at the moment, because I only have so much wool. I've got this massive ball, this and this left. So I'm going to do, I think I'm going to do probably 7/8 sleeves, something like, I always roll up my sleeves to about here. So I think I'll end up doing sleeves to about here, and then depending on how much wool I have left over, I can purchase more wool. I know that they still sell it at Morris & Sons in Melbourne, but my plan is to not have to do that. So hopefully I'll do the sleeves, and then I'll see how far I get down the body. At the moment, I'll show you. At the moment it goes just above my belly button, and most of my jeans are quite high-waisted, so I would like it to have a few more inches before the ribbed, it's got quite a chunky ribbed hem. but I think I will probably have enough wool as it is. We shall see. It's quite an oversized sweater. There's a lot of positive ease here, and the sleeves are also quite oversized. But yeah, it's beautiful. And I also know that this yarn, currently it's a little bit prickly for me. Alpaca is a fibre that I really can't wear very much, and so that's one of the reasons that has been kind of almost putting me off knitting with this wool, even though I had pretty much a jumper's quantity of the wool. I was nervous about the prickle factor, but I had a customer come into the wool shop just before I left, and she was wearing a garment that she'd made with Rowan felted tweed, and it blocked out so much softer than it felt pre-blocking, so I feel quite comfortable knowing that I'll be able to wear this without any problems. So I think that's all of my works in progress at the moment. Yeah, I think that's everything. So I wanted to add in another section, and that is my favourite knits, or knits that I wear a lot. And I think that's a really important thing to talk about, because I know as knitters we can knit a lot of things, and I know I've knitted so many garments and so many accessories, and actually there's quite a few of them that have either been given away as gifts because they weren't perfect, or I thought they would suit someone better, or kind of languish a little bit in cupboards somewhere. And as I am building a tiny house, emphasis on the word tiny, so there really isn't very much storage space, I'm having to get very careful with the garments that I create, to be ones that I know I will wear the colour, and I know that will get good use and are versatile pieces. So I wanted to share with you this really beautiful pile of hand knits, which are my kind of main hand knits that I wear regularly, and you might have seen quite a few of these on the podcast already, especially if you've been watching for a little while. So I wanted to go through these. I don't have notes on the pattern, so if I forget any of the names I will write it down on the bottom of the screen, but yeah, this is a beautiful pile of squish that I wanted to share with you. So the first one, I've knit a lot of hand knitted socks in my time, and a lot of them have ended up being gifted now. I've gifted quite a few to my friend Gwyneth, among other people, and the reason for that is I realised that a lot of the socks that I'd knit previous to maybe 6 months ago or so didn't fit very well, and really the only hand knit socks that I've kept have been samples from my own knitted sock designs. I've got three sock designs that are available for purchase on Ravelry, and socks that I've knitted from that point and onwards. And the reason for that is that I've adjusted the needle size that I have been making socks out of recently, and I've also changed to a gusset heel. And so this is my most worn pair of socks. This is the first pattern that I ever made with a heel turn. Excuse that, I've got a little stain on there. You can tell that they've been well worn. So this is my new growths sock pattern. I'll write it down below. It's this beautiful, very, very potato chippy lace design. I think it's a 4-stitch repeat, and it's very simple to memorise. These are toe up with a traditional heel with a slip stitch reinforced heel just here, and yeah, they just fit so well. So this is the first pair of socks that I really made that really fit well. Before that point I'd always done toe up socks with a German short row heel or a fish lips kiss heel, which work for some people, but for me, because my heel is quite wide, I need that structure for them to stay up. So even though my other socks that I have made and designed with a German short row heel or with a fish lipskiss heel, they fit technically, they don't stay up very well for me in boots. Consequently, they don't get worn in boots and they become house socks. Whereas these ones fit like a bought pair of socks. So if you want to have a try of a toe-up version of this kind of heel, my new growth socks have that, and I will be designing with this heel in the future. I've also tried some cuff down socks, which I really enjoyed working with as well. I do like how smooth the Judy's Magic cast on is at the toes though. I find that if I do from the cuff down and have to do a Kitchener stitch on the toe, I do feel that ridge a little bit, whereas I don't if I work toe up. So I'll use both, but from now on all of my socks will have this kind of heel. So that's my most worn pair of socks. I wear these all the time, as you can tell. And then I've got 3 garments here. This beautiful pile. So this one is a very well loved single ply merino. You can tell it's hasn't been blocked recently. There's also a lot of fluff that's come off the edges. Live and learn, probably not best to use a single ply merino for a sweater. It does pill a lot, as you can see. But I just love this. I'm completely blanking on the name of the pattern. Oh no, I'm not. It's the Smaragd Cardigan is what it's called on Ravelry. I've adjusted it to make it into a pullover, which is very, very simple, and all the notes are over on my Ravelry page. The design is Smaragd, I think. And it's this beautiful kind of feather and fan yoke. So all the increases are hidden within the feather and fan lace. It's really beautiful. I've made this a couple of times. And I used Manos del Uruguay Fino, which is their 4-ply single ply merino. It's a kettle dyed yarn, so it has a lot of variegation. I think this is the brass button colourway. It's a wool that we sell at Morris & Sons. Very pretty. So I love this. It gets worn a lot. One of the reasons it gets worn a lot is that it is quite cropped. So it looks really nice with high-waisted jeans. It's very light, so I don't know if you can see. It's a very, very light fabric. It's not very thick, which means that I can wear it through spring and autumn and winter, no problem here. So yeah, I would love to make this garment for a 3rd time and use a more hardy yarn. I'm potentially thinking I might use, I've got some Tandy 4-ply, which is a Polworth yarn, which I think would be beautiful for this. But I just love the neckline. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. It's a very clever design. Just beautiful. So that's being worn to death. I wear it, because it's cropped enough, I can actually wear it with my overalls, my dungarees. I've got 2 pairs of quite high-waisted dungarees that I wear a lot. So I wear these with that, as well as kind of layered over the top of tops with my jeans. The second piece that I wear a lot is this one here, which is this really beautiful, it's my first ever colourwork. I think it was my second colourwork project and my first ever colourwork garment. This is Stasis. It's a Brooklyn tweed pattern. I think it's a pattern by Leila Raabe. She designed it for Brooklyn tweed. It was one of the, I think it's one of the wool people from a few years ago. It has this really beautiful design on the cuffs here as well. And I knit this maybe a couple of years ago now. It's knit out of Ella Ray Lace Merino, which is this main colour here. It's this beautiful variegated kind of cranberry dusty pink. Very pretty. And then the contrasting colour is I guess a navy blue. It's a superwash merino that we sell at work. It's the Empire 4-ply from Morris & Sons. And it's this really beautiful, simple colourwork design. If you're wanting a first colourwork garment, I really recommend this because you don't need to hold any of the floats. You can see here the garment, like the pattern, there aren't any large floats that you need to kind of hold in place. So it's a really nice first colourwork project to work with. Because it's my first colourwork project, the tension is a bit funny on the sleeves because I started on the sleeves. So if you can see here, that one is a little bit tighter. You can see how it kind of puffs up afterwards. And it's just that I was holding the contrast colour too tight. So it's not something that is obvious when I'm wearing it. It's something that I can feel a little bit, but isn't a problem. But yeah, I really love this. It hasn't really fluffed up at all, like under the arms. You can see a little bit just there, but it's for, I'm quite impressed actually, for a 100% merino, it's really not bubbled up too much. Again, I wear this a lot because it's quite a light fabric. It's very soft and thin, and it feels like a t-shirt almost, like you can see through it. And it's a great layering piece over things and jeans. I wear it again tucked into my dungarees or with jeans. Mainly dungarees actually for this one. So this gets a lot of wear. I love the colour. It's very much my colours. And because it's got the blue in the colourwork, I feel it goes really nicely with blue dungarees and blue jeans. So this gets a lot of wear. It's very simple. Again, it's quite a thin fabric and fits well with my wardrobe. The next garment that I wanted to share with you that I wear a lot is my Wolf Creek, is it Wolf Creek? I think it's the Wolf Creek pullover. It's a pattern by Melissa Schashwery, and it's this beautiful kind of drop shoulder construction. I knit this out of Morris & Sons Norway 10-ply, I think. And it's got 3/4 length sleeves. And I was inspired to knit this by Melody. It was when I first started watching her podcast. And as you know, I'm an avid fan of Melody's. She has the Be Mandarins podcast. I support her on Patreon, so I watch all of her behind the scenes videos and things. And she made one of these jumpers in, I think it was a Cascade Ecology wool, I think, which is very, very similar colour, grey. And I just fell in love with it and made my own, and I've worn this to death. It's got a very much boat neck shape. There are so many things wrong with it. I ended up with way too much stitches. Like these two panels should both fit and they're completely off on both sides. I don't know how I managed that. But I love it to pieces. It was a relatively fast knit and I've worn it I've worn it to death. As you can kind of tell, it looks quite well worn, but it's I love how neutral it is. I love the fact that it's warm on the sleeves, but it also has the lace pattern and has the holes, so it's not too hot, which is great because our weather is so varied in Australia, so it's nice to have woolly things and layers, but I wouldn't particularly be able to wear a 10 or like kind of worsted Aran weight jumper if it didn't have lace. So I've worn this to death. I love it to pieces. There's so many flaws in it and faults, but it's a definite favourite. And the final one that I wear all the time, I'm actually wearing at the moment, and it's this lovely shawl here. The shawl is the Stay Soft shawl. It's a shawl by Veera Valimaki, and it's a colourwork shawl. As you can see here, it's really quite big. And this kind of marked a bit of a change in direction for me with knitting this project. I realised that I wanted to make more wearable coloured pieces, more simple pieces, more neutrals, and this, I actually named it the Stay Neutral Shawl on my Ravelry account. This is actually a 3-colour shawl, but as you can see the colours really tie in together beautifully. This this section here is actually a garter stripe. I wonder if I can show you. Yeah, you can see more here where it's striping into the next colour. The 2 colours are by Miss Click Clack, which is a Melbourne-based indie dyer. She does beautiful, beautiful wools. They're both, I think, single ply Aussie Merino. They might, I don't think they're superwash, but they might be. And then this colour down here, which is beautiful, I can't remember who the designer was, but I know it was a naturally dyed merino. It's this beautiful, dusty kind of purple lavender tone. It's definitely got a grey, it's on the grey scale. And I love the shape of this. It doesn't have too much of a point at the end, but it's very triangular. It was beautiful to make. I've actually made 2 of them, one for my mum and one for me. It's very, very simple to wear, very soft and warm, and I love how I put these tassels on the ends, and I love how the weight of the tassels keeps it in place. So it's simple, the colours work with everything, and the shape is very easy to wear. So I've made quite a few shawls in my time, and it's always the simplest, most neutral coloured shawls that I regularly wear. I've got a linen cotton, it's called the farmhouse shawl, that I wear quite a lot as well, which is quite a new finish. I think I shared it maybe last podcast or the podcast before, and I wear that a lot as well. It's more of a summer piece, but yeah, it's basically just creamy coloured variegated yarn. It's very simple triangular shawl. So I love this one. I also love it has an I-cord edging all the way around, and it's really satisfying. I love I-cord edging. It just creates this really beautiful finish on the bottom. So I love this one. And those are my kind of main regularly worn handmade pieces, or most worn handmade pieces. So it's really nice to, I recommend it if you are a knitter and a sewer as well, just to have a look at through the pieces that you actually find yourself wearing most. It's interesting to go through because it's not always the things that I gravitate towards when creating new projects. But there are definite holes in my handmade wardrobe that I want to fill, and by looking at the things that I actually regularly use, I think it's so much more likely for me to create pieces that I'm really happy with in the long run. I've also recently, I think a couple of days ago now, I shared on Instagram that I've ripped out a very beautiful jumper. It was so beautiful. The pattern was the Dawe pullover. It's an Amy Miller pattern. And the reason I ripped it out was because the yarn that I knit it with was just too scratchy on its own. The yarn is Blacker Yarn's Tamar Luster 4-ply in the Ottery colourway. It's this beautiful, beautiful fibre, which has quite a halo to it. I don't know if you can see the halo there. It feels almost like it has mohair in it. I don't think it does. I think it's just the fibres from the wool, but it's a beautiful yarn, and I really love the colour. I'm desperate to have a long cardigan out of this yarn. However, because I didn't wear my Dawe pullover because it was too scratchy, there were a few factors. The scratchiness, and also the fact that the Dawe pullover had slits down the sides. So from the natural waist, it opened up on the sides and had slits down, which is beautiful. It looked amazing because you could see the tops that you were wearing underneath. But even with blocking, I could never get it to sit correctly. The sides would always curl in. Consequently, I just didn't wear it. I think I wore it maybe twice in the whole time that I had it, which was maybe a year and a half, something like that. I started it with, so this wool was yarn that my mum gave me, I think maybe for a birthday a couple of years ago, and I actually started knitting it while I was back in the UK visiting my parents. So I ripped that out a couple of days ago. I lost a little bit of yarn while ripping it out, just on the ribbing, just because it's quite a fluffy yarn and I blocked it. It had bound together quite well. But I've got a lot left. I've also got another skein unused in my stash as well. So I've got all of these guys. To make into a beautiful cardigan. I'm thinking I'm either going to design a circular yoked, really simple cardigan. I want a long line cardigan that I can throw on over dresses and jeans, something that's quite loose and baggy and not too fitted. But to deal with the problem of softness, what I've decided is I have 2 skeins of this amazing white gum wool merino. This is an ethical, sustainable merino. It's an amazing company. They're the lady who runs it is a shepherdess, and she keeps the sheep in family groups, and she loves on her herd. You would not believe. I'm so happy, as someone who is very concerned with animal welfare, I'm so happy to support this brand of wool. So I've got 2 skeins of this at the moment. I'm probably going to end up needing to get more, but what my plan is because this is so incredibly soft, I think what I'm going to do is have a strand of this and also a strand of the Tamar luster to create an 8-ply, which the colours I think just go beautifully together. They're both natural wools. Don't know if you can see there, and they're quite kind of cool toned greys, so I think they will go really beautifully together, and they're both from my stash, which I'm really happy about. So I think having the merino involved and creating an 8-ply, I think it will make a really beautiful kind of really simple cardigan. So I'm trying to work out whether or not I'm going to design one. I feel very comfortable that I can design just a circular yoke, simple cardigan, like a long line cardigan, go to kind of probably mid-thigh. But just because I haven't found a pattern that I think will work, there's some patterns which have a lot more details to them that I could remove the details of, but I feel like there's a gap in the market for a cardigan. Just a simple cardigan. So I'm thinking I'm going to design myself an 8-ply cardigan, and depending on how it works out, I might well end up having a go at grading. Never done that before. And potentially releasing the pattern, but that's a long way off at the moment. I've been dreaming about this cardigan and not sleeping much because of this cardigan, so I'm thinking that as soon as I'm stopping myself casting on or doing a gauge swatch or anything until my no frills sweater is finished. But this needs to happen. I need it in my wardrobe. I don't have any store-bought long cardigans, and I wear a lot of dresses, and it's just such an easy garment to be able to shove on over the top of kind of relatively full skirted linen dresses and things. So that needs to happen. And is there anything else to share? I don't think so. I think that's everything for this week. I'm doing quite a good job of sticking to my 2-week schedule. I've done 3 episodes with 2 weeks in between, so hopefully I'll see you guys in another 2 weeks. I'll do a quick tiny house update now, actually, for anyone who's interested. So just a quick tiny house update. We have been building now since I think mid-January. We're building our tiny house trailer house on my partner's property. It's actually on a trailer base, so we won't be living here permanently. This is our build site. I don't know if anyone's been watching, who watches this podcast, who's also been watching the tiny house updates that I share on this channel as well. But we are building on a 7-metre trailer. Technically it counts as an RV by Vic Roads, which is the kind of main government body that we have to deal with. And we have been building the whole thing ourselves. It's a timber frame. It's pretty exciting. It's starting to look really beautiful. So if you follow me on the Tiny House Instagram account, or I've been sharing some of the updates on my Instagram stories on my Bex in Real Life account, you'll see that we've finished all the cladding on the outside now. So it's starting to look like a really pretty little cottagey home. We have metal on 2 sides of the tiny house, and the reason we've done that is just for weight. One of the main things that you need to worry about with building a tiny house is the weight restrictions. Because it's roadworthy, it needs to be under a certain height and also kind of length and width, but weight is very important as well. So we have metal on 2 sides for cladding, and then on the front side and on our living room side we are using treated red cedar. And so the day before yesterday, I think it was Good Friday, we finished the cladding, the wood cladding, and it's quite a momentous occasion. It's been probably about 2 weeks that we've been doing the cladding now, and it just looks so beautiful. I'm so excited to get to live in it, and it feels like the bit that I'm most excited about with the tiny house is the internals and really getting to kind of create this amazing space. But yeah, now that the cladding's done, we've only got a few little tasks like putting on the guttering and the flashing for the roof, and doing some siliconing around the windows until we can actually start designing the internal space, which is very exciting. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. If you want to find out more and kind of follow along with the journey of the tiny house, then you can check out thelittlehome.oz on Instagram. That's the main place. I'm quite behind in my update videos for YouTube as well. I've been sharing kind of build update videos. I think I've got as far as raising the walls, but there's a lot more footage to go through. So if that's something that you're interested in, you're very welcome to check through. I've been very careful to separate the 2 kind of creative ventures, I guess. But I wanted to share a little update here to let you guys know where we're at. It is the biggest creative project I've ever done, so it's worth sharing. And I think that's everything for this week, and thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to like and subscribe and comment, and come and see me on Instagram as well. If you are Australian based, then do check out the Soulcraft Festival. It's running in early June. I think it's the 6th and 7th of June, I'm pretty sure. If you go to Soulcraft Festival, you can check out the festival there. The tickets are really affordable and it's amazing. They've got some amazing guests. Andrea Mowry is going to be there, and it's a big festival. So if you're a knitter or a sewer or a weaver, or just want to learn more about the crafts, it's a beautiful, beautiful festival. I'm so happy to be involved in the little way that I am. And if you are coming to Soulcraft, do get involved in the Soulcraftalong that we're hosting. It's a really lovely kind of craft along, sew along, knit along to get involved in, and there's some beautiful projects being shared. So head on over to Soulcraft Festival Instagram. And yeah, I think that's it. Have a lovely week. I hope you enjoy your Easter holiday. It's Easter Monday here at the moment, so I'm having a nice chill day before starting work again tomorrow. And